Hey folks, I'm Steve Butler. Today's project leads many lives. It's a flower box, a display case, and a good old-fashioned coffee table. Today, we're building this unique patio table. Come see how we do it here in the garage. Let's have a look at today's project. The table consists of two main components. The first one is this large plywood box that has a piece of glass that sits on it and creates the display case. The second are these two uprights or supports that tie the whole thing together and create the patio table. We're using 1/2 inch plywood for the box and 3/4 inch pine for the supports. The first thing we need to do is cut our parts to size. Yeah, the best thing about this project is you have a few pieces of solid wood and then less than 1/2 a sheet of plywood, and you have the table project. I like to build this project in stages. I start with the uprights or supports. That way, when the glue's drying and they're assembled, I can build the box. Now each upright consists of 2 legs and 2 stretchers. So first thing we're going to do is cut 4 legs at 19 inches. Make sure you're wearing eye protection, ear protection, and we're going to turn the dust collector on. Okay, let's get started. Okay, now we have the 4 leg pieces for the supports cut to length. We're just going to go ahead and cut our stretchers to length. Now we need to cut 4 stretchers at 20 1/4 inches long. There we go. We have all our parts for the uprights cut to length. Just going to go ahead and rip them to width. I've set my saw fence at 3 1/8 inches, and that's what we're going to rip the leg portions of the upright to. Now you want to make sure you have your blade set at about 1/4 inch. No reason to expose more blade than necessary. If you're in doubt, the thickness of a pencil. Also, use a push stick. Okay, let's get started. We have our 4 legs, cut the width. Now we're just going to go ahead and rip 2 stretchers to 2 1/4 inches. Now we need to rip 2 stretchers at 2 inches wide. We have all our material for the uprights cut to size. Now we need to cut 2 tapers on each leg. I created a jig just out of some plywood and a couple of toggle clamps, and I drew our taper right on the template. I'm just going to clamp one edge of our piece into it, cut that taper, turn it around, clamp it in on the other side, and go ahead and cut that taper. There we go. You can see how that's coming together. So we have our top and our bottom taper cut. We have our stretchers cut. We're just going to go ahead and glue our uprights together. Another thing, keep your taper offcuts. We're going to use them later. Okay, let me show you what I did. I made a 1/4 inch thick plywood template of our legs, and I have all my dimensions marked on there. We're using biscuit joinery to join the stretchers to the leg parts, and I have that laid out. So I'm just going to flush this up to my leg pieces. I'm going to throw a little clamp on here just to keep everything together. And now I can just draw my lines that show me where the biscuits are located. Now I'm just going to transfer those lines across our legs. There we go. Now those are laid out. Just going to go ahead and make our marks on our stretcher pieces. One stretcher is 2 1/4 inches wide, so I'm just going to set my square to 1 1/8. And draw a line down the center. Okay, now we have a 2 inch stretcher, so I'm just going to set this for 1 inch and do the same thing. Okay, now I'm just going to go ahead, clamp our legs to our bench, and we're using number 10 biscuits. We're just going to cut all our joinery. There we go. We have our biscuit slots cut, and you can see how that fits in. Put some glue in there, the biscuit swells, and it locks that joint. Just going to go ahead and cut our other 3 legs. All right, we have all the biscuit slots cut in our 4 legs. Just going to go ahead and cut them in our stretchers. There we go, that's it. We have all the joinery cut in our upright material. We're just going to go to the bench and glue them up. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put glue in the biscuit slots and attach the biscuits to the leg pieces. We're then going to attach the stretchers. Once I glue up one upright, I'll go ahead and do the same thing for the other one. You don't need a lot of glue, you're just going to have more time spent cleaning up. So just put a nice bead of glue in the slot. Just going to tap this in. You want to make sure the biscuit's in the center. There is a little play with these biscuit slots, so if they're not quite in the center, that's fine. But do your best to get there. Okay, I'm just going to put that one to the other side. Tap this one in. There we go. Now our top rail is the one that's 2 inches wide. So I'm just going to put a little glue in either end. Now you are going to get some of it coming out here. And you want to make sure you have your marks upright. So I'm just going to lay that down, keep it like that, and now I'm just going to put the bottom rail in, which is 2 1/4 wide, a little glue on either end. Again, making sure my face mark is up, and I'm just going to align There we go. And you don't need a lot of pressure. And this is where, let me move this back, why you kept those offcuts. It's going to help us keep the clamps nice and level on it. If you have to, you can tap the stretcher over to line up the pencil marks. There we go, that looks great. Nice thing about these biscuit joints, are a little forgiving. You can see I just had to make an adjustment and move that over a bit, and you can do that. There we go. It's nice and level. Last thing you want is the buckle. I could put a clamp on top, but this just seems really good right now. Okay, That looks great. Just going to go ahead and do our other upright. There we go. These look great. While the glue's drying on our uprights, we're just going to go back to the table saw and cut all our box parts to size. Now the box part of our table, we're using MDO, which is called medium density overlay. It's basically a multi-veneer plywood, and it's covered with a paper and then impregnated with a resin. It makes it waterproof. A lot of sign makers use it. It's great for the outdoors, and it's very paintable. I also swapped out my regular saw blade and I put in a fine finish blade. There's 80 teeth and you get less tear out. I've set my fence to 5 7/8 inches, and we're just going to rip our box ends and our sides to that dimension. Safety glasses, hearing protection. I'm going to put the dust collector on and make sure you're using a push stick. Okay, let's get started. We're going to cut our 2 box side pieces to 47.5 inches long. Then we're going to cut our ends, 2 end pieces, to 20 3/16 inches long. Okay, we have our sides and our ends of our box cut to length and width. I'm going to swap out this saw blade. I'm going to put in a set of stacked dado blades, and we're going to cut a couple of rabbets on the end of the ends, and that's how we're going to join the box together. We're also going to cut a groove to fit the bottom. Now I like to cut the bottom after everything's been dry assembled, just to get an accurate reading or measurement from it, and then I'll come back and cut the bottom to size. I've attached a set of stacked dado blades in my table saw, and I've also attached the false fence to my regular saw fence. And the reason I've done that is I want to cut a 1/2 inch wide by 1/4 inch deep dado on the ends of our side pieces. And I'm using my miter gauge, and I can butt this right up against the fence that way and run my piece along and get my rabbet in one pass. This way, if it digs into the false fence a bit, it's not a big deal. It's a sacrificial fence, that's why it's there. So I'm just going to start the saw, make one pass and cut the rabbet on one end, flip my side over end for end, and do the same thing on my other piece. Okay, let's get started. I took our false fence off and I moved a regular saw fence to 1/2 inch away from the edge of the blade. And that's where we want to cut the groove to accommodate the bottom. And we're going to cut it on the inside edge of our ends and our side pieces. Now, I did not have to make an adjustment at all. The only thing I had to do was move the fence, but the blade height stayed the same. It's the exact same height, the 1/4 inch, as the depth of our rabbet. Okay, we'll put the dust collector on and we'll cut our grooves. There we go, that looks great. Now this is a 1/2 inch wide groove because I'm using the same piece of MDO for the bottom. But you can make it a little narrower at 3/8. It wouldn't go much narrower than that though. It's a pretty large box. All right, we're just gonna go and dry assemble. Yeah, this is a great project. You can make it any size you want. You can narrow the box and bring the uprights in closer to make a smaller table, or you could expand it, make the box longer and add a 3rd upright. The choice is entirely yours. Okay, I went ahead and dry assembled the box part of the table, and I cut our bottom piece the size. Now it's plywood, so you can use glue to hold it together. I'm just going to throw some glue, a bead of glue, down in our grooves all around the box parts and tie it together with some brad nails. There we go, we've got the box part done. Let's just go see if we can take our uprights out of the clamps. Yeah, you can paint the table or you could leave it plain, but I would cover it with an outdoor finish. I chose to paint ours 2 colors, yellow for the uprights and white for the box, just because those are our house colors. Okay, I think the uprights should stay in the clamps a little longer, but in the meantime, we still have more we can work on. What I like to do is I cut a couple of 1/2 inch strips of plywood, 3/4 inches wide, and at the 8 inch mark, because that's where our supports meet the table part or the box part of the table, I'm just going to attach those plywood cleats. And it just helps tie it in, add a little rigidity to help support the box. Just going to throw a little bit of glue on here. You don't need a lot. Just put this in at my line at the 8 inch mark. And when you're putting the box in the uprights, it also helps you find your way, helps connect it. So I'm just gonna shoot a brad in there, hold that in place. Now I'm only using 5/8 inch brad, so we don't have to worry about it going through the bottom. Wipe the excess glue off, just do the same thing on the other side. Now I'm just going to turn the whole thing over and we're going to attach our cleats for the glass, which hold the glass in place. Yeah, I use 1/4 inch thick acrylic or plexiglass. Just you do need some thickness to it. You don't want it to sag. You could use solid glass or real glass, but real glass will shatter or have a tendency to break where acrylic doesn't, but acrylic also scratches. So the choice is yours. I chose acrylic mostly for economic reasons. Okay, flip this over and we're ready to add our glass cleats to the box. Now the glass doesn't extend the entire table surface. It's only 30 inches long and the table's 48 inches. That way we have room for the flowers or flower box on either end. The glass is 1/4 inch thick. You can use plexiglass or regular glass, whatever you choose. I'm just going to draw a line. I've got my combination square. I'm just going to draw a line, a reference line, so I know where to put those cleats. Right along the inside edge. I have a bead of glue on my cleat, and I'm just visually spacing this as long as it doesn't hit our uprights. There we go. You definitely want to use an outdoor type screw when you attach these cleats. This table is going to be out on the patio. Okay, that's it. Let's go see if our uprights are ready to come out of the clamps. Yeah, by using acrylic or solid glass, you create this display cabinet essentially. You can put your rocks you collect on there, seashells, or you can even get a map of the area and put it on the bottom of it. That way you can see through it when you're sitting at it. Let me show you what I did. I took the clamps off the upright and then I went ahead and cut and attached 30 inches long, a center stretcher or a center rail if you want. I also added these little corner blocks and it just adds a lot more support and stability to the two uprights. Plus, it gives a place for the box component of the table to rest on. Okay, talk about close tolerances, but this fits really well together. Well, we added our cleats, we have our glass on top. This is a unique build. I hope you'll give this project a try and come back and see us here again in the garage.
Just found your number, thought I'd drop you a line. You know I've been out on this road such a long, long time. Just wanted to let you know I'm doing just fine. But hey, I'm doing fine out here on the road. As long as I have friends to call, I'm never alone. Folks wonder how I take all that driving all the time. As long as I have friends to call, I'm doing just fine.
The first thing I like to do is somebody hit the needle.